February 1st, 2020. Tomorrow is Groundhog Day. I got a link on my page where you can go in. I think around 7:20 tomorrow, the Punxsutawney Phil comes out in Pennsylvania. And if he sees his shadow, which means the sun's got to be up, we're in trouble, more winter. And if not, if it's a cloudy day, winter's going away. And you can read the original pagan poetry and all that and on my page. Now, with the failed impeachment or whatever you want to call it, I want to talk not so much in support of Trump or against him. You know, obviously I'm against some people in politics who seem to believe socialism or communism is going to work for America. And in the way it's being exercised in states, unfortunately, like California right now, where so many homeless people are everywhere and people are using drugs on the streets of the major cities and people with mental illness are going untreated and, you know, homelessness is out of control, immigration's out of control. And the hate and the anger on both sides, Democrat and Republican, which I'd like to remind myself, you know, I've been a independent since the late 80s. And, you know, I always thought of myself as a libertarian. It wasn't until like the Tea Party and Obama was in office before anybody really used that word, libertarian. But another post on my page right now on Facebook here is just a little 2-minute piece from a philosopher, Bertrand Russell, who was at Cambridge University. Bertrand Russell, Nobel Prize laureate, peace activist, philosopher, mathematician. Bertrand Russell was part of the logical positivist movement in philosophy. And that would be like with G.E. Moore and Whitehead and T.H. Huxley and some of these others. Now, not Aldous Huxley, T.H. The other one, Evolution and Ethics, is the text. And then Wittgenstein, who's huge philosopher, mathematician. And but Bertrand Russell was, I should say, key in getting Wittgenstein a PhD based on the Tractatus. It's interesting. Moore got in an argument with Wittgenstein within the first 5 minutes of him sitting down and said something about the Tractatus, and Wittgenstein just quipped. He said, "I knew you wouldn't understand it anyway." And he walked out. And Russell was able to convince Moore that to give him a PhD and a position teaching philosophy based on the Tractatus, which basically says language is inadequate. So we need images, photos, demonstrations with our language so we can tell what people really mean. That's what we need in politics. We need like graphics and photos and images to show us what their ideas are. And this link to Russell in this case is towards common sense in life. He says he wants to talk to us about two things, intellectual and moral, one intellectual, and that the idea is the intellectual one that he stresses is that we must use the facts in front of us to determine every single case, right or wrong, including this impeachment or back like when Clinton was impeached and never left the White House and other attempts, blah, 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 on other presidents. Now, the reality is, so we need an intellectual component. Bertrand Russell tells us we need an intellectual component where we believe and base our thoughts on facts, know the facts, find the facts. If we don't know them, we find them, and then that's what's in front of us, not what's in our head. Now, we have a problem with extreme liberal, almost leftist thinking in this way. It ain't almost, it is, especially with radical hate groups like Antifa, anti-fascist, pro-communist. Don't they understand any communism, socialism, disintegrates into or denigrates into fascism? I guess Antifa misnamed himself. They're pro-communist, perhaps, and that means they're pro-fascist in the long run, not anti. Now, so these leftist folks, they don't look at the facts. They're not looking at logic. So Russell's warning us intellectually. In 1959, this speech is from, that in the future, people will need to be inclined to facts in front of them and not what they wish it was in their head. And the other one from Russell on morality that's huge is he says we must accept other people. We must have openness. we must understand people will be different. There will be differences of opinion, and people around the world are different, and even next door to us, neighbors, we have to accept other people morally, and we can't expect people to all be like us. If they were, it would be no fun at all, and furthermore, we'd not be as creative and nothing would ever get done. Silence works too. So what does it mean? Well, we got to judge things based on rationality and facts. And we got to accept other people and be open. That means no hate, no street floggings, no floggings and beatings on the street. That ain't going to fly. Violent protests, we want all the nonviolent protests we can get. Violent protests, no. It does nothing but hurts people and makes people more angry, and some want revenge, and it's a horrible inference on humanism. Now, the idea is we all live a good life, seeking happiness with a life of virtue. This means we've got to accept facts over fantasy, and that we got to accept others who don't think like us. Word to genius, word to getting along. I mean, you do want to barbecue and get laid or something important later, don't you? Life is reality. Always remember, it's right here if you want to think about it. Not in my head, but in yours. Take care of yourself, because if you don't, you're no good to anyone else. I hope y'all have a good day. Take care, y'all. Peace out.